The journey of computers, from the first machines to today. The story of computers is one of the most fascinating technological journeys in human history. It begins long before the electronic machines we know today. It starts with simple tools made to help people count and solve problems. Over hundreds of years, these tools slowly evolved into powerful machines that now shape almost every part of our lives. This essay will explore the development of computers from their earliest beginnings to modern times, describing how each step helped build the technology we rely on today. Early tools for calculation. Long before the first mechanical or electronic computers existed, humans needed ways to handle numbers. One of the earliest known tools was the abacus, invented thousands of years ago in ancient civilizations such as China and Mesopotamia. The abacus used rows of beads that could be moved back and forth to represent numbers. It might seem simple, but it was extremely useful and is still used in some places today. The abacus showed something important. People were already trying to make devices that could process information faster and more accurately than the human brain alone. Although the abacus is not a computer in the modern sense, it represents the earliest effort to create a machine that could help with calculations. Mechanical computers, the first big step. The real movement toward modern computers began in the 17th century. Mathematicians and inventors tried to create devices that could perform mathematical operations automatically. In 1642, Blaise Pascal, a French mathematician, built one of the first mechanical calculators called the Pascaline. It used gears and wheels to add and subtract numbers. Later, in the 1670s, Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz improved on this idea and created a machine that could also multiply and divide. Both devices were limited but important steps toward automated computing. However, the person often called the father of the computer is Charles Babbage, an English inventor. In the 1800s, Babbage designed two major machines. The difference engine, a machine meant to produce accurate mathematical tables. The analytical engine, a much more advanced design that could be programmed using punched cards. Although Babbage never completed his machines due to financial and engineering difficulties, his ideas were far ahead of his time. The analytical engine included concepts such as a memory unit, a central processing unit, input and output systems, the use of programs. These are essential parts of modern computers, making Babbage's work incredibly important. Ada Lovelace, a mathematician who worked with Babbage, wrote the first algorithm intended for a machine. She understood that computers could do more than calculate. They could follow instructions to solve many kinds of problems. She is often celebrated as the world's first computer programmer. Electromechanical and early electronic machines. In the early 20th century, scientists began experimenting with machines that used electricity as well as mechanical parts. One famous example is the Harvard Mark I, completed in 1944. It was an electromechanical computer as long as a room and used switches, relays, and rotating shafts to perform calculations. But the biggest leap came when inventors replaced mechanical parts with electronic components, especially vacuum tubes. Vacuum tubes allowed machines to operate much faster because they had no moving parts. One of the first fully electronic general-purpose computers was ENIAC, Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer, completed in 1945. ENIAC could solve complex mathematical problems thousands of times faster than any human. But it had limitations. It was huge, filling an entire room. It used thousands of vacuum tubes that often burned out. It had to be rewired manually to run new programs. Still, ENIAC proved that electronic computers were the future. The stored program concept. A major idea in computing history is the stored program concept, introduced by mathematician John von Neumann. Instead of rewiring a computer every time it needed to run a new task, instructions could be stored in the computer's memory. This made computers far more flexible and easier to use. The first computers to use this idea appeared in the late 1940s and early 1950s. These machines were still huge and expensive, but they set the foundation for everything that came after. Transistors and the second generation of computers. The invention of the transistor in 1947 changed everything. Transistors replaced the bulky vacuum tubes and made computers smaller, faster, more reliable, more energy efficient. By the late 1950s, the second generation of computers, built with transistors, began to appear. These computers were still very large, but they were powerful enough to be used by businesses, government agencies, and research institutions. This period also saw the development of early programming languages such as Fortran and COBOL, which made computers easier to use for technical and business tasks. Integrated circuits and the third generation. In the 1960s, engineers developed integrated circuits, ICs, tiny chips that could hold multiple transistors. This allowed computers to shrink in size and grow in capability. The third generation of computers introduced faster processing, more memory, better operating systems, time sharing, which allowed multiple users to work on one machine. Companies like IBM became major leaders in computer manufacturing during this time. Computers were still expensive but were becoming more common in large organizations. Microprocessors and the birth of personal computers. The big turning point came in 1971 when Intel introduced the microprocessor. A microprocessor placed the entire central processing unit on a single chip. This breakthrough made it possible to build small, affordable computers. Soon, the first personal computers, PCs, appeared. In 1975, the Altair 8800 became one of the earliest hobbyist computers. In 1976, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak founded Apple and built the Apple I, followed by the popular Apple II. In 1981, IBM released its first personal computer, helping establish PCs as essential tools for home and office use. During this era, user-friendly software also emerged. Microsoft, founded by Bill Gates and Paul Allen, created an operating system called MS-DOS and later developed Windows, which made computers easier for everyday people to use. The rise of graphical interfaces and the Internet. In the late 1980s and 1990s, computers advanced rapidly. The introduction of graphical user interfaces, GUIs, allowed users to click icons instead of typing commands. Apple's Macintosh, released in 1984, was a major step in this direction. Around the same time, the invention of the World Wide Web by Tim Berners-Lee transformed computers into communication tools. By the mid-1990s, the Internet was becoming widely available, and people began using computers for email, browsing web pages, and online shopping. This era also saw major improvements in microprocessors, memory and storage, multimedia capabilities, computer graphics. Computers became essential for work, school, entertainment, and communication. Mobile computing and the modern era. In the 2000s and beyond, computers continued shrinking while becoming more powerful. Laptops became common, offering mobility and convenience. Soon after, smartphones and tablets entered the scene. The release of the iPhone in 2007 changed the concept of what a computer could be. A device small enough to fit in a pocket now had more power than computers that once filled entire rooms. The rise of cloud computing also changed how we use computers. Instead of storing everything on one device, people could save files online, stream videos, and access software over the Internet. Today, computers come in many forms. Desktops, laptops, smartphones, tablets, smartwatches, smart appliances, virtual assistants. They are faster, more efficient, and more interconnected than ever before. Artificial intelligence and the future of computing. One of the most important developments of the modern era is artificial intelligence, AI. AI allows computers to learn, make decisions, and understand human language. Machine learning, neural networks, and large-scale data processing are creating new possibilities in fields such as medicine, transportation, education, and entertainment. Self-driving cars, intelligent robots, and advanced computer assistants are becoming more common. Computers are no longer just tools, they are systems that can analyze information and assist humans in complex tasks. Looking further ahead, technologies like quantum computing may completely change what computers are capable of. Quantum computers could solve problems that are impossible for current machines, especially in science, security, and mathematics. Conclusion. The journey of computers from the earliest counting tools to the powerful machines of today is a story of human creativity and innovation. Each generation of computers built on the ideas that came before, turning simple devices into essential tools for modern life. From the abacus to artificial intelligence, computers have changed how we work, communicate, learn, and live. While the technology continues to evolve at a rapid pace, the central purpose remains the same: to help humans solve problems. As we look to the future, computers will likely become even more intelligent, more connected, and more important in shaping the world. The story of computers is far from over. It is still being written every day.